have two watches on my two hands. I have two hands, also two watches. Here is why. And also, this is a reply to the comment I got on TikTok, where these bands are from, these Looper bands. First of all, why do I have two watches? I already explained it in a different video. Because this is a very simple basic watch I had for years, and that just displays the time. Even though I cannot really show it right now because I'm in portrait mode, and I just realized that I can take out the portrait mode and therefore things won't be as blurry anymore. But it still focuses on my face because that's what I'm usually recording at. So this is a Casio. It's a very minimalistic, simple Casio. It's a black version of it. And this is not the original loop band. It's usually on my left arm in order for me to be able to read the time. Because I, for quite some time now, use time blocking and scheduling into fragments of. The smallest fragment I use is 10 minutes. So therefore in order for me to actually be able to do something within 10 minutes, I need to be able to take a look at the time. Of course, the more you do it, the more your actual perceived time is more close to the actual time that went by in the real time. But I still have it there. Why? Because, I also have another smartwatch. Why would I use it? What I found is this. This is always there. This is always working. And if I am reliant on shaking my watch or rotating my wrist in order to display the time, then for quite some time, it just didn't work. What this now means is, there is also another aspect. And the other aspect is this. This watch is a smartwatch. Therefore, the battery lasts only for a day. And I already put it to grayscale, and I still want to track my activities within a day, and I also already charge it. If I now additionally also looked at the time or had the screen on all the time, then it would drain even more battery. So therefore, the screen is off here all the time. I only have it on if I press on a button. It's already off again because the battery went out, and I then charge it, but it didn't turn it on again. So therefore, if I just want to see the time, I just take a look at this watch. Also, if I just want to have quick access to an alarm. So basically it displays the time, the date, an alarm, and you also have a stopwatch. Then I just have it here. I used it for swimming throughout the years whenever I wanted to stop something, so it's always on my wrist. It was even before I had now a small phone on my wrist, which is now a Galaxy Watch 4. It was previously a Galaxy Watch Active 2, and previously, before this, I had another Galaxy tracker called, but this was not a smartwatch, so therefore it doesn't really count. It just was a fitness tracker. Galaxy Fit, the Galaxy Fit 1 was on my watch. Was on my wrist, not on my watch. So now it also displays the time. But I have already this watch to display the time, and also I want to save battery on this watch, and also the screen on functionality would also just additionally drain the battery. And if I would use the wrist function, it just doesn't work as good as I want. Therefore, I have two watches. Also, I just like things to be symmetrical, and therefore I just have now two watches on both hands. It's a look, I guess. It's not really. You can also have two Rolexes on your wrists, but then you maybe have to ask yourself if the show-off in you actually gained the upper hand. So now, regarding the loop bands, and now answering the question about the loop bands, I didn't want to answer it on TikTok or in a short video, which I will also post to YouTube, maybe Instagram and Facebook. But now answering the question. On the Galaxy Active 2 I had a different band, and when I switched to the Galaxy 4 I actually have this band now. This is a loop band that's basically textile, and it stretches. Why is this so big? And maybe let's just first discuss this one, because it's basically the same argument, that then I can just use the same argument and apply it to the other hand and wrist. I had this problem for years that there were these plastic loop bands. They were not really plastic loop bands. And because these are kind of waterproof, I just leave the Casios, because I had many of them, on all the time. So basically, this wasn't so much a constraint, because I don't have to charge it. I can just leave it on whenever showering, whenever going to the bed, whenever swimming. I can just leave it on. Nevertheless, I found sometimes you have to take it off. And also, plastic on your arm is just something over time that is not very pleasant as a varying experience. Therefore, I had this idea, what if I just made something textile? There are these rubber bands, which are kind of replacement rubber bands for shorts, for example, and you can also get them in a broader, you can also get them broader. And I took one of these and I basically made a loop. So this is basically DIY, and I made this loop and I put the one loop in here and the other one is sewed together basically, and these two go around here. So it's basically one loop and the watch is actually attached and this loop is going through here. This means that I just use the original pins, these, and they are still in here, but I took basically I took 2 layers of this because of stability and also longevity, and I put it in here. And now this is basically permanently attached to this. Of course I can take out the pins and then it's not permanently attached anymore. But this led me to also rethinking what I actually wanted to do with this. I just get the other band I had before because I still have one. So this is actually the bag with all the old Casio watches and also all the older wristbands. So there are actually different iterations of all of this. So the basic band you get with a Casio watch is this one here. It's made out of rubber and usually it becomes a little bit itchy and it's just not the best experience. Compared to something that's textile, like clothes, it's just a little bit better. Then I got this Velcro fastener. The problem was just it was a little bit too thick, and also I don't have a proper... The problem was this, because if things aren't elastic, I do have pretty small wrists actually, and here is the bone, and I want to have the watch here. But now the problem is, if you have something that's basically fixed in length and doesn't change its length, then if you put something here and then as soon as it gets over here, it stays here, because that's the point where it's basically the smallest diameter, and then it just stays on here. But if you have something like a hoodie on and you actually want to take a look at the watch, then it's never here. So therefore it makes sense to have the watch here in front of this bone basically. Therefore an elastic band is the solution, because an elastic band is something that can be here and then can still be a little bit more snug here. I mean, that was not a very good explanation, but that's basically the thinking kind of behind it. I also had like these clips to attach cables, and they also didn't work really well. Now, I mean, we discussed the Casio already. We discussed the Casio watch, and I actually cannot find it right now. Oh, where is it? It's gone, basically. There you go, it's here, next to my smartwatch. So much for the Casio. And it's also black, which is nice because of black. I just don't want to go into detail about the black color anymore. Not anymore, but it just makes sense. Most things are available in black, and therefore it just makes sense to use it as a default color for everything. Now, this is the band I actually had for the Galaxy Watch Active 2. So you have these pins here, and I just now realized that it doesn't really make sense that I had used portrait mode ever in these videos, but I also want to show something. In order to not make the argument any more worse, I just switched to normal mode, where I actually can focus on the band. So, now this here works like this. You have these two pins, and then you have a Velcro fastener here, and all of the band acts as something you can attach the Velcro fastener to. Then you connect it to the watch. The pins are actually then underneath, and then you can just connect it again. So these pins are also on here, as you can see. This is basically the newer one, the newer version, and you can just take these pins and pull them in, and then just take them out. I don't do right now because it's quite a little bit of work, especially with this band, to get them in. What was the problem with this one? The problem with this one was that these Velcro fasteners, there is dirt that gets in there, and you can get it out with something like a thing. You can get out small things. I don't really know the name. Maybe a pin set, but that's probably not the right word. So there are two things. First of all, this tends to become a little bit the Velcro fastener just takes away all these things here. And then the Velcro fastener just fastens not enough anymore. And then what happens is, now if you have your band on here and the watch is on the band, and if you do, for example, something sporty like doing sit-ups, and then the diameter of your wrist, because of the muscles in your wrist and the tendons, basically enlarges, then the Velcro fastener sometimes just goes like this. And then you basically have to reattach the watch again and again and again and again and again. And then you have to buy a new one because the old one is basically useless. This is what I did one time, and this is the second one. And then I decided I needed a different version. And I thought, what if I had something that looked very similar to this one, actually almost as close to this one as possible. And I found this other one on Amazon. This now is a textile band, but it's not something I made for myself because this was quite a little bit of work because you want to get it right. And also over time, of course, the rubber just is not as rubbery anymore. Therefore, you also have to account for this. So therefore, it's tighter in the beginning, and you also have to think about this because you still want to be able to wear it like a few months after you made it. And with this, it's a lot easier. So it's basically, you have this strap here, and you can enlarge the length, and you can also put it back again. And this is something that's very useful also for using the Galaxy Watch 4 or just any fitness watch, because for most of the day you actually don't want to have a very snug fit. But if you now had a Galaxy, not a Galaxy, but if you now had a loop band that was fixed in diameter like these, at least fixed to a certain extent, because you can only switch to the bigger or the smaller hole, then the problem is that whenever you actually want to have a snugger fit, for example, because you want to track your heart rate really accurately, because you do a workout right now, then you have to do this on your watch, and it's quite a little bit of work. And it's also annoying because you just don't want to spend time wasting, or don't want to waste time doing this. So now here, it's a lot easier. For example, if I now measure my blood pressure, which is not really something I do all the time, but also if I just do a workout, I just take this and then and it's done, it's tighter. And if I don't want to have it as tight anymore, then I just use it and it's loose again. That's it. That's all I have to do. Now, let's actually compare it to charging. So let's say you have this one and now you want to open it for charging, which is something you have to do at least once a day with smartwatches. It's like, oh yeah, and getting it there and here and here. And usually this band basically folds underneath. This means it basically is this, and then it goes underneath of your wrist again. And you take this off and it takes like 25 seconds. Compared to, that's it. And now I can attach it to the charger. And now I take it off the charger. Bam. That's it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to waste any time. I don't have to be annoyed by it because it just works. It's the same with this. Let's just say I want to take off both of my watches. It's as easy as this. Let's say I want to take them on again. It's as easy as this compared to fiddling around with all these other bands. It's easier to use. It's also just more comfortable because it's textile. I have it now on both of my wrists. And especially with this one, I actually tried to get it in a smaller version to also attach it to this one. This is usually 20 millimeters and this is 22 millimeters in width. But they didn't have one, so, well, I still am stuck with the old one. Also, I cannot really replace the old one because I would have to custom make it again. And this one, you can just buy it for $10 again. So that now, finally, also another point. When it comes to paying with a watch, it's kind of a pain in the watch. And in the past, I mean, with the Velcro fastener, it already worked better than compared to the original wristband that is there. Because you also, sometimes, sometimes the NFC works and sometimes it just doesn't. And therefore, you just take off your watch really quick. But if you have something like this and you are in the supermarket at the cashier, especially at a discount supermarket where it's like, dum, 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 I'm speaking about the speed of which the items are scanned, then you just don't want to fiddle around with your watch and get everybody annoyed. But if you instead of opening up your watch, you can just take it off like this, pay, and put it on again, then it's very easy. That's another point, and that's another big bonus. So that's the reasoning behind these loop bands. That's also the reasoning behind these two watches. I already made a video about it, but now much in more detail about the loop bands. And also to you that actually made the comment. I cannot remember the username right now, but here's the video explaining all of these